is going to be a lot to look forward to. Government is presenting a budget 2025, March 7th, with coming on the heels of massive destruction in 2024 by Hurricane Beryl. So it reminds us of that time years ago when we had to deal with Ivan. So we know that it's a budget that you look forward to, because you know that people want to hear what's happening, especially our brothers and sisters in Carriacou and the Sister Isle that was mostly affected by Hurricane Beryl last year. So early, it gave us a historic start to the hurricane season, but along with it, we realized that it had displaced a lot of our brothers and sisters on the other side. So it means, therefore, that and I think what most people don't understand, and working in NADMA for a number of years, you recognize that your response after a hurricane, it's immediate. It has just happened. The long-term planning as to how you become resilient, and I know the theme reflects that, is what you now plan as you move forward to ensure that while we have no control over nature, that we are better prepared for it. Can you be entirely prepared? Well, we do what we can as a nation. And I think the budget will set the tone for this, government's plans, programs, and how we do that as we continue as a nation.
Yes, and there must be a higher level of vigilance. Things are changing. The climatic conditions across the world are changing. In the past, you expected hurricanes to be in our region somewhere around September. A little lower down the year. Now we're noticing that it's coming a little higher. We had Emily that was in July years ago, and Beryl also in July. So there has to be a much higher level of alertness among the populace to ensure that we're prepared for the event of natural disasters. And of course, planning for that, we don't wait until things happen. The old-fashioned he who aims at nothing would always hit it. So we've got to be always aiming at something, and it's all about preparations, preparing before, forecasting, budgeting, ensuring that nothing really takes us by surprise. That's very important.
And I think it's also important that we note here that while our policymakers, those charged with responsibilities to guide this nation, will then present a plan that will allow us to be better prepared. That's the national level. It is more critical and it is more impactful when you as an individual prepare. I think that's the bigger conversation. And I know that in the past we have focused heavily on it. As you rightfully said, September is when we expect them. But I think they are changing. We look at the seasons now. This is supposed to be the dry season. It's just stepping in. We're in March. It should have started since January. So it tells us, that the reality of the change in climate, it is very, very present, that we have to accept that which we cannot control, but also prepare. And I'm sure today the government will be presenting a package that we hope continues to remind people of the need to always be prepared, but that's so that the national framework can support this.
And Oslin, I think it's very important too that we get our young people involved. Because they're the future generation. They're the ones that are going to take us into a new era and a new dawn. So the more educated our young people are, is going to be very significant and crucial for our country and the future of our country. So when this budget is being delivered, our young people must pay a very keen and acute interest in what's taking place. In the past, you heard the sort of tonation that suggested, it's more for the middle-aged and the older people. We're not necessarily involved and interested in it. I think now we're beginning to see the dawn, however, of a new psyche, the dawn of a new awareness where our young people are more involved.
I think it seemed the revolution seemed to have also been better embraced, having more younger people as part of the government structure. Normally we sit down, you look at it on television, the Prime Minister or the ministers are usually older, you're more mature people who would have served in different capacities, whatever profession they chose, and then eventually they would get into politics after they think, now I need to get into public service. But now, we recognize that we have children. I was speaking to a friend of mine, Judith, and her daughter is telling her that she wants to be the first prime minister, female prime minister. So you recognize our children now have big visions. They are dreaming big, and I think it augurs well for our future.
And you're right about that. I think it started with the revolution back in the mid-1970s, when so many of our young people got involved in the political awareness of our country. And although we've got to balance that very well, I dare say, Oslin, because when you have so many young people and you do not have the older ones to give counsel and guidance, it creates an imbalance. So you want to have a good melange, a good mixture of the older brand and the new brand.
I agree.
Which would certainly help for continuity.
I agree. I believe in that. I believe in that. And you see, it reminds us too of the construct that we grew up in. We have the extended, we have our grandparents there that would provide that level of guidance and transfer wisdom. It's only, I think, as we get older, we recognize the things they share, yes, and how important and significant they are until we become adults. They used to share those phrases, and afterwards, it's okay, so that's what they were saying. The mix, as you rightfully said, is critical.
Absolutely.
It is critical because it is always important that it does not matter what position you hold, whatever leadership position you hold, it's always important that there be somebody there that would say to you, no. I think that one was not a good move. That one you could have done better. Or this one you did exceptional. It is important. And mentoring, the guidance is critical in growth. And no matter what field you embark on, you as an individual, we all have that person that we will go to, as we say, for sound counsel. Be it a pastor, be it a friend, there will be that discerning voice that will tell you that yes or no, and you can trust it.
I think the good thing is that we notice that there are quite a number of young leaders, comparatively speaking, in the country. That is very good. But again, we need to caution. It's important to look to the older ones and those who have gone before to get some sort of wisdom from them and guidance and mentorship from them. And it's going to go a very, very, very long way.
I agree. I think the charge is for everyone in this case.
Yes.
a beautiful blend of both. So experienced and new. From there, we should see an excellent final product.
But I think all in all, it's about patriotism. And I wish I can hear the word patriotism resounding a little bit more. I dare say, and you'll hear us referring to it quite a lot, not that I was the biggest fan of the revolution per se, but during that era, that 1979 to 83, the word patriotism and patriot, you heard those words practically every day. We don't hear those words very often, and maybe not often enough, but we need to go back to the old-fashioned patriotism where we love our country and we do as much as we can for our country.
I agree. I think the response is different. The passion that you will see emanating from someone when it involves patriotism is different. The drive, the will. Nobody has to ask you. You would do it. You would get up and do it because you're seen for the greater good. It is for us. It is for this country. Whether or not you benefit directly, your children or children's children along somewhere in years to come would benefit. And I think it's important that we change. It is something that I'm hoping we can see a revolution in. Now that we have access to more and more information, our young people are stepping to the fore to be young leaders. It is great. We're seeing a lot of our females now stepping up. This time around, we have the opposition leader that is now a female, sworn into office earlier. So we recognize that these decisions, they don't only impact the older people see it, but it inspires our young ones, and I think that's the footing for me that shows hope for tomorrow, and that we are really changing the landscape of what we know. But I don't want us to lose the true tenets of what build us as a nation and as a people, because we would never lose the community. As I keep saying, our hospitality is not based on you coming here and seeing it. It's cultured in us that when we walk by, we say good morning. When you travel, you recognize it is not like that. When they come to us, though, they would adjust to us. Yes. But when we go to them, it's not them. So I think it's important that we salvage and also be very, very protective of that very, very unique way of life that we have in the Caribbean here in Grenada. Right here at home, I think we need to preserve it. It's critical.
Look, Oslin, we've got a great country. We've got a beautiful country.
We do.
And people from all over the world, they come to us, they sample what we do have to offer. And for the most part, they're highly impressed with it.
Yes.
And I think we also have to be impressed with what we have. In a rather modest way, yes. But let's be impressed with what we have. We may not have all the silver and gold in the world, but there are some precious, precious commodities that we've got here that we must never give up at all.
I agree. I fully agree and endorse. Fully agree and endorse. So we are here at the House of Parliament, and we know it is budget day, so there's a lot of policy decisions, budgetary allocations, ministries, focus areas, and I know people are anticipating a lot. Last year, the budget was presented. It was $1,656,356,499. That was last year's budget. Beryl would have come and derailed a lot of that budget because we did not expect her, and she did widespread damage. What can we expect this year? And we know that it's just about 15 minutes before the House proceedings commence. And we just want to share with people the proceedings, what will happen this morning for those who may be looking at the budget for the first time, or school children and so that may be wondering what to expect. Pastor Wob, I'm going to just allow you to share what to expect in the proceedings here at Parliament before the budget is presented by Minister Cornwall this morning.
Well, of course, we have the formal entry of the Speaker, which everybody looks forward to. There are always these ceremonial things that you'll get in Parliament, of course, which is followed by prayers. There is the oath of allegiance or affirmation of a new member, and then there will be, of course, the confirmation of minutes of the last meeting. Then we've got messages from the Governor General. Announcements would be made by the Speaker, and presentation of petitions will then follow, and then we'll have presentation of papers and reports from select committees. Later on, we'd have unopposed private business questions, of course, that will arise, and we have motions which will be passed, and then later on, of course, we have the bills, okay, the readings of the bills and passage of the bills. So that's what it's going to look like. It's going to be a pretty full package, and I believe that it will be all, of course, will be addressed with anticipation and animation, and there'll be a lot of information. So we don't want you to leave at all. Stay tuned with us and stay right here. There's a lot to offer.
Yes, there is a lot to offer, and it's important to know that today is just the presentation, as you rightfully said. Come next Monday, we'll have the rebuttal to the budget. It's important to also know that the same timeline that the Minister of Finance would use today to present, so if the Finance Minister takes 3 hours to present the budget, I think the same time is allocated to the opposition's rebuttal, which is the opposition leader's rebuttal to the budget, and that would be Honorable Emmeline Pear. Her first duty as opposition leader will be to rebut the budget on Monday. So it is going to be interesting. We do have a lot happening, things changing, and then we go into the debates that will happen next week, where both the government and opposition sides will be making their contributions to the budget. So it's important that you listen there. Listen to everything. Listen to the breakdown of the budget today, the focus areas of government. I know this time around, pillars of Vision 75, that of energy, agriculture, health, education, and the environment. And I think our discussion initially spoke a lot about that of the environment, how it's changing. So we know that it is critical. Energy continues to be a discussion in the region, Venezuela, Trinidad, the rest of the world. We have agriculture, food security, or food basket. How do we protect it? Health, critical. If we don't have health, we have no wealth. So it means that it's important in education. It empowers everything else that we speak about. So I am looking forward to today's presentation, the allocations, government's reasoning behind these allocations, and what we will expect for 2025.
And of course, there'll be the challenge to borrow $725 million. quite a handsome amount, I dare say. And of course, there'll be discussions as to where, who our lenders would be, who we're going to be approaching both regionally, locally, and internationally. All of those will be of keen interest. You just spoke about and mentioned about the fact that we'd have the Honorable Emlyn Pay as the official opposition leader. And it'll be a bit strange because we've heard the voice of Honorable Keith Mitchell for so many years. Then there is the change, and here you've got a lady presenting. That is going to create quite a great deal of interest, won't it?
Yes, it will. It will. It's different.
It is different.
It's different. So we expect, that's what I'm saying, this year's presentation, it gives you, the anticipation is different. The anticipation is different because there's a certain level of newness, as you see to it. Yes, I remember when Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell presented the first budget. I remember I was also sitting here, and it's different. It was different. He presented different. The presentation, everything was different. So you recognize now that you have a female on the other side to rebut to the budget. It's like, okay, all right. With women, we always have flair. We always have a touch of something different. What will be present? How will she do it? But we know that she's not new to Parliament, so we wait to see what happens. But
I think that's the good thing. She's been around for quite some time. Started young.
Yes, she did.
But is very experienced now in Parliament. So she should be able to give a pretty good account of herself.
Yes, I think that's the good thing. While, yes, she may be new to the position, she's not new to Parliament. So it will bring for some, looking forward to healthy debate, contributions to the budget. And I think that should be the takeaway from this House. Yeah, that is always important. You have an opportunity to share. Make a contribution to national development. What impacts us, what would make us better, what you think should go different, and that is what democracy is about.
You're right.
That is what democracy is, and this House represents democracy.
Yes, and I'm glad whenever we hear that there are opposition in the House.
Yes.
To me, it does help the ruling government to be sharper. You keep them on their toes, that sort of thing. So I'm not one of those persons who really love the 50 nils, you just like to hear people challenge, not just for challenging sake, but for national interest.
Yes,
so I love to hear those debates, and I think it augurs well for the country.
It does.
Yeah, so here now we can expect some strong debating taking place.
I fully endorse that statement, Pastor Wom, because we recognize, sometimes you have an idea to do something, but somebody comes with what am I saying? Add to it. It's not necessarily you're not moving away from the idea, but you add something to it, and you recognize that you have a unique product that everybody then will be proud of. And I think it's important. It is always important. People always think that an argument is bad. Arguments are good. Great ideas come from arguments. People share how they really feel during arguments. You hear the truth. It's important. And here at the House, what we have is healthy debate. That is what it should be. Healthy debate. You see it that way because you are in that position. I'm on the other side, might have been inside, and I see it totally different. But you recognize it when you put those two together. And all of that, I think, is what government also tries to capture in preparation of today's budget, which will be presented through that of the consultations, where you go into the different communities and you give people an opportunity to share.
Yeah, actually, so let's back up a bit. Of course, with the Vision 75. Now, don't forget, this was not last year. No. This was just, on the onset of COVID.
Yes.
So this is a continuation. And I love that. I love to see continuity. If something is progressive, something is important, something is significant, something is good for the country, I believe in continuity rather than, my administration did not start this, so it would not be continued. And it was nice to hear that this administration says, look, we're going to continue with what was proposed and what was established years before.
I think, and that is something that we always speak to. Governments, it's a continuum. it's a continuum. While yes, your focus areas may shift based on what you as a party, when you become a government, should be the areas, you recognize that it does not change, right? The projects that are started in the previous administration will continue to do. You just decide that you would not do it. So all the gains that were made. So let's say, for example, the Molinaire Road that started before. Would you say that you're not going to do it? A critical piece of infrastructure on the west. It has derailed and would have offset a lot of the commerce on the western side. Fuel, sales van getting goods to. You hear people complaining of it. Do you just decide that because the governments have changed that I'm going to shift focus entirely and I'm going to just condemn all infrastructural work? No. That never happens. And I think it is important that we understand that there's a difference in the campaign to that of governance. When you govern for everybody. When a decision is made, it impacts all of us. The Prime Minister represents Grenada. We are all Grenadians. Yes? Party lines are only called during a campaign. After that, we come together as one and we work.
That's correct.
And that is what it should be about. And that's what democracy speaks to.
Yes, getting down to the nation's business.
Yes.
And being very serious about it.
Very serious about it.
I refer, however, Oslin, to something we saw during the revolution, where every year was designated. So you would have maybe the year of agriculture, the year of education, that sort of thing. I wished that would come back so that, in a particular year, there'll be an emphasis on something that is significant, and you would be driven to ensure that that is looked at and worked upon. That was one of the things that I took away during the revolution. I hope somehow we can do something like that,
and get back to that
today or later on, that sort of thing.
Okay.
You remember the days, don't
Yes,
you?
I remember when it used to be like that. You have, I think it also formed part of when you had focus on that of some areas that have religion, start of the school terms, all those type of things. What we recognize, though, that changes, is just as we were speaking too, is that so different people would come in, but the focus remains the same. But I guess the highlight, it gives us it's like added impetus because there's a lot more PR on it. There's a lot more showcasing what's happening, and you realize that people are stepping up. I want us to get back to the days when we can do that with agriculture, because we realize that it is now with everything that's happening in the world. We realize what's happening, tariffs, decisions, pulling back on decisions, it will affect us. And I think we will be looking forward to hearing also, what are some of government's plans when it comes to, because you recognize that our traditional markets, we may have to start looking away, yes, see what are those that we are not usually accustomed hearing. The African, we realize that the Prime Minister, yes, we have been seeing for 2 independents, we see some of our African businessmen. Is it a shift? And it is a timely shift, because with all that's happening in the bigger markets that we are accustomed to, then we know that it means that we have to get very innovative and decide how we would work around everything that's happening. It's going to affect us, but if it can be on a minimal scale, then I think it's going to be best for us as a people. And I think agriculture, our food security, our contribution, what we can do as a nation may be small, but if you decide to start planting in your backyard, it will help.
Yes.
It will help. It means that you won't need, and our local producers, our local farmers, the market for their produce then will increase. How do we handle those things? So it is a time it is just a different time, but it is a time, though, that you anticipate a budget because of all that's happening in the world.
Yes.
Because we will be affected.
You spoke about Africa, and we've got, some 54, 55 countries in Africa.
Yes.
And, we have connection with Africa.
We do.
I'm a bit surprised that over the years, our Caribbean fraternity did not see the value of reaching across the Atlantic and get to Africa and forge and establish fraternal relationship with these countries. And that's something we'll also have to look at in terms of our Foreign Affairs Department. our non-traditional brothers and sisters, so to speak? Can we go into the wider world to explore Europe, to explore the Asian continent, and develop those sort of fraternal relationships? You talk about agriculture and how important it is. We'll be able to establish relationships so that we can get new ideas, new technologies, right? Our young people, I'm not sure if all of them want to use the hoe and the traditional fork, but can we get technologically innovative? I
agree.
And probably these countries might be able to help us with that.
I agree. And when we speak of agriculture, you know, our children would not want to do agriculture the way our parents and grandparents did. Now, before they step outside and their hand get in the dust, they start pulling back, right? So it means that we have to introduce new ways. Use what they love. They love the technology. How do we then merge it so that we can get more out of agriculture? And I think that's where we should be going. So it lends a lot. The discussion is wide as to how we can. The same thing happens with fishing. Fish is healthier, isn't it? It is. My father was a fisherman. So it's like, okay, how do we then make fishing easier? You can go out to sea and you decide to stay for a week and you come back with fish that can supply our local market. We export, yes, but supplying our local market, how do we do these things? You know, introduce technology into all of it. You have the long line fishing. There are things that we can do. And I do believe that there's a shift now to healthier living, healthier choices. We don't have a choice, do we? We are here now, and then afterwards we realize that something has changed drastically in our health. How do we do that? Our health is mainly affected by what we put in, right? Yes. So if we are conscious on that level, then it means that going local will be very easy, because then it is healthier.
Yes.
You know what you're eating, you know where it came from. It might give us a couple more years on our lives.
And in addition to that, of course, we've got to pay great attention to our health facilities here in Grenada, and how important it is to develop the health sector. As you know, I had my medical challenges some time ago, and quite frankly, I remember visiting the local doctor here, and he said to me, the first question he asked me is, do you have any relatives in the United States? And when he told me that, then I realized, no, this sounds a little on the bad side. I assured him, yes, there is, and he said, get ready, you've got to fly out. And to me, going through the whole challenge of this medical challenge, I got to realize, no, we've got to do something in Grenada to look at our health services, to bring it up to international and professional standard. We are a long way back. I think we are a long way back. We're probably about 10 years behind. But if we really put things in place, and I think some things are beginning to be put in place, then we can really reform the health sector.
Yes, we can. Pastor Worm, I see that the official proceedings in the House have started, so we are going to go over now to the House so that we take in what's happening inside with the official ceremony.
Let's pray. God, we beseech thee, Almighty God, members of this honorable house, that they may wisely deliberate for the good of this country and for the glory of thy holy name. Join me in saying the Lord's Prayer, please. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Pray, be seated. This Parliament now convenes.
Item 3, oath of allegiance or affirmation of a new member. Item 4, confirmation of minutes.
You don't have much.
Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning to members of this Honorable House. I beg to move that the minutes of the proceedings of a sitting of the House of Representatives held at Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, the 28th of January, 2025, at 9 a.m., be taken as read.
Honourable members, the question is that the minutes of the proceedings of a sitting of the House of Representatives held at the Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, 28 January 2025, at 9 a.m., be taken as read. Those who have that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the minutes of the proceedings of a sitting of the House of Representatives held at Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, the 28th of January, 2025, at 9 a.m., be confirmed.
Honourable members, the question is that the minutes of the proceedings of a sitting of the House of Representatives held at the Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, 28 January 2025, at 9 a.m. be confirmed. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary opinion say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the minutes of the proceedings of a special sitting of the House of Representatives held at Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, the 11th of February 2025, at 9 a.m., be taken as read.
Honourable members, the question is that the minutes of the proceedings of a special sitting of the House of Representatives held at the Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, 11th February 2025, at 9 a.m., be taken as read. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary opinion say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the minutes of the proceedings of a special sitting of the House of Representatives held at Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, the 11th of February 2025, at 9 a.m., be confirmed. Thank you.
Honourable members, the question is that the minutes of the proceedings of a special sitting of the House of Representatives held at the Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, 11th February 2025, at 9 a.m., be confirmed. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary opinion say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Item 5, messages from the Governor General. Item 6, announcements by Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I wish to make the following announcements. honorable members and the folks sitting in the balcony, we now have a new leader of His Majesty Opposition. As for the correspondence received, the Honorable MP for St. Andrew Southeast is now the new leader of His Majesty Opposition in this Honorable House. I wish to extend my very best wishes to you, Honorable MP, and now leader of His Majesty Opposition. I wish to also say that over the past 2 days and a half, Grenada hosted the Honorable Speaker of the House of Commons, the Canadian Parliament, Honorable Greg Fergus. I know that he left the island this morning to go back to Canada, but we were host to him, and I know he did pay a courtesy call on our Prime Minister and some other entities. His comment to us, not just last evening, but even prior to that, was that Grenada is a wonderful place. And he intends to return to Grenada with his family for an extended vacation. And finally, tomorrow, the world celebrates International Women's Day. And I want to, at this point, to wish every woman hearing my voice, not just here in the Parliament, but every woman hearing my voice, advance best wishes for International Women's Day. I am also advised that special tokens have been prepared for the women MP in Parliament, right? So you will receive those tokens when the sitting is finished today. I do hope that as the women celebrate tomorrow, that they are given the support of the men in so doing. Those are my announcements.
Item 7, presentation of petitions. Item 8, presentation of papers and reports from select committees. Item.
Yes, sir. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to present the following papers and reports from select committees to this Honorable House. Estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 2025. Medium-term economic and fiscal strategy report 2025 to 2027. Medium-term debt management strategy 2025 to 2027. Annual debt report 2023. Report on the use of CRIF payouts. National Organizing Committee report, 50th Independence Anniversary celebrations. Report on Contingency Fund 2024. Minutes of the Standing Committee on Finance held on Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Leader of Government Business. Honorable members of this House, those aforementioned reports are now laid before the House.
Item 9, unopposed private business. Item 10, questions. Item 11, Urgent questions on the provisions of Standing Order number 20, subsection 1, notice of questions. Item 12, statement by ministers. Item 13, personal explanations. Item 14, motions.
Honorable Minister for Finance.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move the following motion, standing in my name, and it reads, whereas it is necessary to provide for the services of the State of Grenada for the year 2025 by means of an Appropriation Act, be it resolved that the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the fiscal year 1st January 2025 to 31st December 2025 be approved.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister for Finance. Honorable members, the question is, whereas it is necessary to provide for the services of the State of Grenada for the year 2025 by means of an Appropriation Act, be it resolved that the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the fiscal year 1st January 2025 to 31st December 2025 be approved.
Speaker, I wish to signal this Honourable House that I have the consent of the Governor General to proceed. Mr. Speaker, in compliance with the Public Finance Management Act and regulations, the Fiscal Resilience Act, and the Public Debt Management Act, I wish to advise that the following accompanying documents are laid before the Honourable House, which was done earlier on. The Medium-Term Economic and Strategic Report 2025-2027 in accordance with Section 12A of the Public Finance Management Act of 2015 as amended. The Medium-Term Debt Management Strategy 2025-2027 in accordance with Section 5.1 to 5.3 of the Public Management Act number 28 of 2015 as amended, and the 2023 Annual Debt Report. The following additional reports are laid. Report on the Contingency Fund pursuant to SRNO 42 of 2015, National Transformation Fund Regulations, as amended. Preliminary Financial Report, the 50th Independence Anniversary Celebrations, and report on the use of the CRIF payout. Mr. Speaker, it is my distinct honor to present the budget address for the fiscal year 2025 to this Honourable House. Mr. Speaker, permit me to begin my presentation by thanking the Almighty God for His grace and mercies endure forever. Despite monumental challenges in the past year as a nation and God-fearing people, we have demonstrated impressive resilience. As we look ahead, we remain assured in the faith that we are blessed and highly favored. For it is written in Romans chapter 8, verses 28, and I quote, "We know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called accordingly to His purpose." Mr. Speaker, I wish to also thank the Prime Minister, the Honourable Dickon Mitchell, for his continued confidence in me to lead the Ministry of Finance in yet another difficult period for Grenada and the global economy. Permit me also to thank my colleagues in Cabinet, the staff of the Ministry of Finance, and all others who have contributed to the preparation and presentation of this year's budget. Allow me also to express profound gratitude to my constituency of St. Patrick East for the continued support, and I look forward to continue to work with them. I will speak specifically to developments within my constituents during the debate. Mr. Speaker, on July 1st, 2024, Hurricane Beryl, one of the strongest tropical cyclones in modern history, to make landfall in July struck our beautiful nation, inflicting damage to homes, roads and bridges, utilities, businesses, and the agricultural and marine sector. The damage amounted to roughly 630 million EC dollars, or 16% of our gross domestic product, particularly affecting Carriacou and Petit Martinique and the northern parishes of mainland Grenada, namely St. Patrick, St. Andrew, and St. Mark. 4 months later, in November, unprecedented rain caused major flooding and landslide, further compounding the recovery and reconstruction needs of our beloved country. Mr. Speaker, it is said that the true test of leadership is how one leads in times of crisis. We took decisive and strategic action to shield our citizens from the harsh realities of these disasters. Key interventions include keeping the nation fully abreast of all the preparedness activities, through targeting assistance to affected citizens to support recovery and reconstruction, such as tax relief and emergency supplies of building materials, and direct cash transfer to farmers and fisher folks. 3, suspending of the fiscal rules and targets of the Fiscal Resilience Act, pursuant to Section 9, to facilitate immediate, urgent, and critical disaster-related spending. Launching of the Disaster Relief Fund to receive donations in support of a proactive response. As of today's date, $13.3 million has been deposited into the fund, allocating disaster risk financing such as grants, concessional loans, and insurance payouts. Invoking of disaster clause in our debt instruments where applicable to ensure adequate fiscal space to support recovery efforts. And again, delaying the 2025 budget to ensure appropriate focus was placed on the immediate short-term challenges posed by burial. Again, Mr. Speaker, you'd hear out there that we delayed the budget for a number of other reasons and so on. Notwithstanding, let us continue. Mr. Speaker, our swift strategic response has been instrumental in bolstering our robust economic performance in 2024 and in setting the foundation for continued transformation. Mr. Speaker, our leadership and composure in the face of disaster have not gone unnoticed. Reputable and international organizations such as the International Monetary Fund and the Caribbean Development Bank have lauded our prudent approach in preparing for and in navigating the relief and recovery of Hurricane Beryl thus far. Mr. Speaker, we owe much of this praise to the significant support of the donor and creditor community, and most critically, to the fortitude and resilience of our people. Mr. Speaker, while much has been achieved in short time, there is still much more to be done, not only in the context of burial recovery, but also in support of our transformative agenda for Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Mr. Speaker, the robust macroeconomic performance in the last year, despite significant challenges, demonstrate impressive resilience. The medium-term outlook is favorable, supported by continued strong tourism demand, ongoing reconstruction efforts, and investment in transformative initiatives in healthcare, housing, skills development, and renewable energy. Mr. Speaker, we have just celebrated our 51st anniversary of independence in another spectacular display of talent and patriotism under the theme, The Next 50, Embracing of Development, Transformation, and Unity.
Just hold on, Reverend. I said it before and I'm going to say it again. Your phones should be turned off. There should be no shrilling. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This theme is deeply rooted in our National Sustainable Development Plan 2035, which is further embedded in our Vision 75. Vision 75 embodies a resilient Grenada, a prosperous Grenada, a conscious and caring Grenada, a Grenada where human dignity sustains inclusive economic growth, and environmental progress are promoted. Undoubtedly, Mr. Speaker, Grenada is a nation on the rise, supported by residents of its economy and people. Considering the foregoing of our team for the 2025 budget, and I quote, towards Vision 75, Grenada-Resilient and Rising, end of quote. Update on key reforms and policies. Development of the Grenada hydrocarbon potential. Mr. Speaker, we extend our sincere gratitude to the technical working group for their tremendous work over the past year. Thanks to their efforts, we are now have a clear roadmap for achieving Grenada's hydrocarbon potential. Mr. Speaker, following the presentation and debate of this budget, we'll provide the public with a comprehensive update on this matter. Development of the Kawana Bay project site and expansion of Beach House Silver Sand. Mr. Speaker, further to significant progress made in resolving the Kawana Bay dispute and engaging a new developer, Oil Caribe, construction is expected to commence this year. Simultaneously, the expansion of the Beach House Silver Sand project will provide further information on developments in these areas in due course. Reform of the Marketing and National Importing Board, MNIB. Mr. Speaker, we have taken decisive steps to address the long-standing financial mismanagement and inefficiencies plagued by the Marketing and National Importing Board. To stop the organization's financial and operational decline, we scaled down all operations and assumed all debt, creating a foundation for meaningful restructuring. However, the restructuring process has faced delays due to the absence of years and audited financial statement, complicated valuation, and due diligence efforts. Despite the challenges, government remains committed to transparency and accountability in this transition. The engagement of a strategic partner is key to building a modern, efficient, and sustainable entity that will better serve farmers, agro-processors, and the broader economy. To this end, a new company, Import-Export Agromart Limited, has been established to replace the MNIB. The legal and financial experts are developing a prospectus and legal arrangements to engage a suitable strategic partner and have new entity up and running before the end of the third quarter of 2025. Strengthening parliamentary representation. Mr. Speaker, our government remains committed to strengthening parliamentary representation and ensuring that all members of parliament are equipped to serve their constituency effectively. The goal is to provide adequate resource over time, including establishment of state-owned parliamentary offices in each constituency, providing a permanent and accessible space for constituents to engage with the elected representatives. To this end, in 2025, each constituency, as far as practical, will be outfitted with a suitable vehicle to facilitate greater mobility and outreach, ensuring that the needs of our community are met with efficiency and care. Efforts will be made to secure hybrids and electrical vehicles consistent with government policy of greening the transportation sector. Pension reform. Mr. Speaker, our hard-working public servants dodged the bullet. The risk that the NNP administration would have refused to pay them their retroactive pensions and gratuity. When the electorate voted the National Democratic Congress into office to form the current administration, it was elusively clear that the former administration had no intention of honoring the payment of over 500 retired public servants who dedicated their lives to the service of Grenada. We have kept our commitment to pay the retroactive sum of $75.1 million and are making current payments going forward. Mr. Speaker, it is our continued commitment to ensuring that the public servants do not retire in poverty. We have enacted a new contributory pension plan to cover our 3,600 government employees who were previously not included under the existing pension arrangement. To secure the years of service, a sum of $11.3 million representing 100% of past service due is provided for in this budget. This initiative ensures that all government workers can now look forward to living out their golden years in a secure and comfortable state because they are now part of a retirement plan. Mr. Speaker, reinforces to pledge the livelihoods of both current and retired public servants. Public sector regularization. Mr. Speaker, regularization of the public service is progressing steadily. Phase 1 targeted 300 temporary officers on probation, officers on assignment, and officers holding acting appointment has surpassed the target with some 455 officers confirmed. Phase 2, which targets approximately 1,262 workers holding PSC contracts, government agreement contracts, ministries letter, and daily paid instruments, is being processed. Some 1,100 officers will be regularized by April 2025. In addition, 224 teachers are also being processed for regularization by the end of March 2025. This will bring the total number of officers regularized to the end of April 2025 to 1,779. Phase 3, which targets some 3,316 workers holding contracts for service and managed training to consider for regulation by December 2025, is on schedule. A total of $22.7 million is budgeted to cover the additional costs of the regularization exercise. Pay and grade adjustment, Royal Grenada Police Force. Mr. Speaker, our government is pleased to announce the resolution of the long-standing and painful issue of pay and grade adjustment for the hard-working and dedicated men and women of the Royal Grenada Police Force. A legacy of neglect by the former administration. The adjustment is effective 1st January 2025 and will cost an estimated $6.5 million, positively impacting over 1,000 members of the RGPF. Mr. Speaker, the average increase in pay for police constables is estimated at $750.74 per month. This is the fulfillment of yet another promise to our people, a testament of our caring and truthful government. Sound fiscal management. Mr. Speaker, Hurricane Beryl has tested the robustness of our disaster resilient financing strategy, and we can draw important parallels between this government and the former administration on this important subject. Our commitment to the payment of the CRIF premiums when the former administration was contemplating withdrawing from a facility, a potential disastrous decision. Thankfully, this administration stayed the course and expanded coverage for CRIF to include Grenada and Nawasa, and we considered Hurricane Beryl impact a few months ago. Our decision to stay the course has resulted in CRIF payout of $44 million over $180 million into the Treasury. The payout for the CRIF includes, but is not limited to, immediate post-event repairs to public buildings and physical infrastructure, that's roads, bridges, hospitals, schools, $15.8 million. Repairs to infrastructure for communities, that's housing, community centers, etc., $15.7 million. Purchase of food and water and medication for individuals include $3 million. Risk mitigation activities to reduce vulnerability to future and natural hazard events, $13.5 million. Payment to persons in support of their livelihood, for example, farmers, fishermen, $31.3 million. Burial income support program and relocation of elderly citizens due to damage elder care facilities, some $14.5 million. Business reactivation, $25 million. A more detailed report on the use of the CRIP is laid together with the 2025 appropriation bill. The prudent decision to expand CRIP to our utilities resulting in a significant payout to Grenada of $9.3 million and NAWASA of US $2.2 million to support the quick restoration of power and water in affected areas. The actual set aside of 10% of National Transformation Fund receipts into the contingency fund for a rainy day fund to support recovery in the event of a major economic shock. As of December 1st, 2024, the fund balance stood at $44.9 million. Mr. Speaker, the government has decided not to access this fund to finance burial activities. While the former government heavily criticized our decision to reduce the percentage of the set-aside of 40% to 10%, they did not put a dollar into the fund since the law was passed by them many months ago. And finally, Mr. Speaker, we did not have to impose a reconstruction levy on the backs of ordinary Grenadians to fund the rebuilding of the Grenada economy post-burial. Mr. Speaker, we have talked of deficit, of borrowings, of poor fiscal management. One only has to look back to the 3 years or so post-Hurricane Ivan to see deficit, financial shortfalls, and new burdensome tax in the name of shared sacrifice, and compare this to our response to Hurricane Beryl. Macroeconomic and social context. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to the macroeconomic and social context in which the 2025 budget is presented. Mr. Speaker, the 2025 budget is set against a complex macroeconomic drawback shaped by domestic and external factors. Robust economic performance in 2024 despite the devastating impact of a major hurricane underscores Grenada's growing resilience. The near-term outlook is also favorable. Real GDP is forecasted to grow by 4.1% in 2025, driven by continued tourism demand and post-burial reconstruction activities, following the 3.7% realized in 2024. Mr. Speaker, consumer price declined in 2024 from the high levels experienced in 2023, held by government policy to keep prices down, including removal of VAT on basic food and other essential items and electricity and petroleum price subsidies. That notwithstanding, food inflation, although declining, remains unacceptably higher than overall inflation. Period average over inflation is forecasted to remain low and stable at around 0.9% over the medium term. Mr. Speaker, labor conditions have remained stable with a consistently low employment rate of around 12% in the last 2 to 3 years. With continued buoyant economic expansion in 2025, the unemployment rate is forecasted to decline further. Mr. Speaker, unprecedented citizenship by investment inflows and the CRIF insurance payout bolstered government fiscal position in 2024. A primary surplus of $432.9 million, or 11.3% of GDP, was realized in spite of extraordinary spending on account of Hurricane Beryl. Mr. Speaker, to continue this resilient recovery of the Grenada economy, the fiscal rules and targets of the Fiscal Resilience Act will be further suspended in 2025 to allow for increased rehabilitation and reconstruction spending. Finally, on the domestic front, Mr. Speaker, the financial sector remains stable and sound, and external stability was well anchored in 2024. Looking ahead, financial sector conditions and external accounts are expected to improve, further reinforcing macroeconomic stability and growth. On the global front, economic growth is projected to remain stable at 3.3% in 2025, based on the most recent World Economic Outlook by the IMF. However, this positive outlook is pregnant with uncertainties fueled largely by ongoing geopolitical tensions and, more recently, protectionist policies in the United States. Additional details on the macroeconomic and social context for 2025 budget is included in the medium-term Economic and Fiscal Strategy Report 2025 to 2027, which is laid together with this appropriation 2025 bill. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to the estimate of revenue and expenditure and the specific areas of intervention for 2025. Estimates of revenue and expenditure for 2025. Mr. Speaker, as per the philosophy of our administration in prioritizing the engagement of our citizens in this important aspect of our country's governance, we actively involve our people in widespread consultation on the 2025 budget. The resulting policies, projects, and programs have benefited from the reach insight of our citizens, for which we are most appreciative. I wish to record my sincere thanks to our citizens here at home and in the diaspora who embrace our participatory approach to governance and shared the ideas and suggestions with us, helping to shape the 2025 budget. Mr. Speaker, this third budget set our country and people on a more resilient and inclusive path, consolidating past gains and accelerating progress. It provides for a total expenditure principal repayments of $1,912,872,014. The overall budget summary is as follows. Recurrent revenue, $1,192.5 million. Total grants, $72.5 million. Recurrent expenditure, $1,105.9 million. Capital expenditure, $496.5 million. Current account surplus, $86.5 million. Principal repayment, that's amortization, EC $310.5 million, sorry. Primary deficit after grants, $208.6 million. Overall deficit after grant, $337.4 million. Mr. Speaker, while the rules and targets of the Fiscal Resilience Act merits further suspension in 2025, in light of the ongoing recovery and reconstruction post-Hurricane Beryl, our government is committed to fiscal prudence and a return to fiscal rules and targets once it is not harmful to macroeconomic stability to do so. Based on our assessment, the return to fiscal rules and target under the FRA will not be before 2027. That said, Mr. Speaker, a key aspect of the FRA is the wage bill, ceiling of 13% of GDP, will not be breached in 2025. Good faith salary negotiation for the next negotiation cycle will ensure compliance with the FRA and sustainable wage bill management beyond 2025. Financing of the 2025 budget. Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to report that the 2025 budget is fully financed. Of note, the overall deficit of $337.4 million will be largely financed from drawdowns from some $287.3 million of government deposits held in the consolidated fund. Details on the financing of the 2025 budget can be found on page 9 of the 2025 estimates of revenue and expenditure. Thematic areas. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to the specific area of intervention underpinning the 2025 budget, aimed at strengthening resilience of our economy and accelerating high, sustained, inclusive growth and development. These interventions will be presented under 4 broad thematic areas, namely, the resilient recovery in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl, accelerating our transformative agenda in healthcare, housing, education, and scale development and renewable energy transition, expanding and diversifying our productive base, and investing in cross-cutting areas, rebuilding smarter after Beryl. Mr. Speaker, a deliberate and strategic approach has been taken to not only replace lost or damaged infrastructure and livelihoods, but to build back better. Mr. Speaker, in response to the Hurricane Beryl, we have so far pumped in excess of $100 million into the hands of ordinary Grenadians in the form of cash grants, building materials for roof repairs, construction of new homes, business reactivation support, the farm labor and input support, among other critical needs. Mr. Speaker, in all our efforts, building resilience was at the forefront of our interventions. Today, significant progress has been made in rebuilding our country and restoring lives and livelihoods in more resilient and sustainable way. We have built resilience houses for low-income and vulnerable families. We provided material assistance as well as tax relief to homeowners who suffered level 1 and 2 or minor to moderate damage to help restore their lives. Through strategic partnership, we have secured some 47 prefabricated houses from our less fortunate citizens. To support livelihoods in agriculture and marine sector, cash grants, other forms of direct support have been provided to some 4,862 farmers and 279 fishing folks. The support to rebuild of our economy of Carriacou and Petimatic as of January 22nd, 2025, 49 grants amounting to 700 million, 0.7 million and 49 loans with total value of 2.1 million have been provided thus far. Through Project Pristine, we have largely restored the natural beauty of the Sister Isles and massive cleanup of the land and marine environment. We have made significant investment in Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority to transform waste disposal and management and achieve environmental sustainability going forward. So far, $20.7 million have been expended on Project Pristine and equipment upgrade for Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. We have rehabilitated and restored critical public infrastructure, including roads and bridges, the Princess Royal Hospital medical facilities, schools, police stations, government offices. Despite the substantial progress in such a short period, Mr. Speaker, the road to full recovery is still a long and arduous one. Our government empathizes with our teachers and students, our public servants, our homeowners, our businesses, and ordinary Grenadians, who are still with the harsh realities of burial. We remain committed to providing the necessary support for as long as necessary to build a better and more resilient society, accelerating our transformation agenda. Mr. Speaker, the people of Grenada voted for transformation, a pivot from the failed and visionless policies of the former administration. Our bold and visionary policies to transform our nation is taking root. Many of our people are talking about Project Polaris, our new hospital project. Project 500, our innovative housing solution. Project Skills, our laser-focused plan of upskilling and retooling our workforce with relevant skills, especially our young people. And Project Renewable Energy, aimed at energy security and lowering the cost of energy. Mr. Speaker, our people once more are hopeful and are beginning to see a bright future ahead. Undoubtedly, it is on the right, towards progress, prosperity, and unity. As our Prime Minister declared in his independence address on February 7, 2025, I quote, "We are a great nation. There is a greatness in every one of us," end of quote. Allow me to elaborate on the key transformative pillars. Healthcare. Mr. Speaker, we remain steadfast in our trust to transforming our healthcare system into the healthcare capital of the Eastern Caribbean. Mr. Speaker, given the state of healthcare system that we inherited, our commitment to this nation on this issue is no easy feat. Yet we are undaunted and laser focused in addressing critical challenges facing the sector. In 2025, we will advance several critical initiatives to strengthen the health sector, improving service delivery, and lay the foundation for a transformative future. Strengthening organizational capacity. Mr. Speaker, we remain cognizant that efficient healthcare delivery depends on a well-structured and effectively managed system. With the support of Mount Sinai, one of the largest teaching hospitals in the United States, a comprehensive need assessment and quality improvement initiative of our current health system is underway to guide the development of the new hospital and broader health sector's reform. This assessment will evaluate gaps in the infrastructure, service delivery, human resources, and equipment needs. The findings will inform strategic planning and resource allocation to ensure that our investments are targeted and impactful. A key feature of the proposed reform is the statutorization of the hospitals. Strengthening human capacity. Healthcare is only as strong as the professionals who deliver it. In 2025, we will implement strategic measures to address critical human resource gap in the sector. We will involve conducting an HR audit, expanding training opportunities for health professionals, recruiting additional doctors, nurses, and specialized medical personnel, including implementing a specialized program to ensure adequate succession planning. Mr. Speaker, while we continue to diligently take the long-term HR challenges, incentivizing our doctors and nurses remains necessary to stem the attrition to other countries. Mr. Speaker, I'm therefore pleased to report that the Cabinet has agreed to extend the honorarium of $12,000 and $6,000 annually for doctors and nurses, respectively for Advancing Project Polaris. Mr. Speaker, one of the most transformative initiatives on our healthcare agenda is the construction of a new state-of-the-art hospital. The hospital will be designed to offer a higher standard of care, expanded specialist services, and improved diagnostic capabilities. In 2025, we'll focus on finalizing key aspects of the design and financing with the aim of breaking ground on the Hopeville site for the first half of 2026. An amount of $23.6 million has been allocated for this project in 2025. Additionally, the Cabinet has approved the establishment of a special fund at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, into which a sum of $25 million is to be deposited as government contribution towards the overall financing of this project. Furthermore, a small percentage of all NTF receipts will be put aside monthly, commencing June 2025, and finalizing the legal requirements to support the smooth transition to the new hospital once completed. National health insurance, expanding access and affordability. Mr. Speaker, ensuring equitable access to the health care remains a priority of this administration. To this end, national health insurance is on the utmost priority. Regrettably, after many years, there is very little in terms of progress. That said, we are not interested in pointing fingers and ascribing blame on this game-changing initiative in transforming our health sector. This government simply committed to our fellow citizens, and I quote, "We will get the job done," end of quote. In 2025, we will advance the legislative and institutional framework needed for the implementation of the national insurance. This will include finalizing the coverage model, engaging stakeholders, and launching public awareness initiatives to ensure smooth implementation. An allocation of $2.4 million is made in this project under Vote 20. Strengthening mental health and wellness. Mr. Speaker, mental health and wellness is an integral part of this government health strategy. To this end, a new Ministry of Mental Health, Wellness and Religious Affairs has been created to give greater focus and strategic importance to these portfolios. In 2025, we are committed to expanding access to mental health services, reducing stigma and integration of mental health support into primary health care. Additionally, we will focus on strengthening the infrastructure of our mental health facilities to provide a more patient-centered approach, including the state-of-the-art construction of the Marigold Rehabilitation Center. The combined allocation for the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Mental Health and Wellness, Religious Affairs, is $171.3 million. Transforming education and skill development. Mr. Speaker, the foundation of any prosperous nation is a strong and resilient education system. Our government remains steadfast in its commitment to ensuring that our citizens, especially the youth, has access to quality education and skill needed to thrive in an evolving global economy. Building on yet another year of solid progress in the education sector, we will strengthen our effort on increasing, enhancing, and expanding technical and vocational training, upgrading schools' infrastructure, technology, and education financing. Increase access to education. Mr. Speaker, to reduce the financial barriers to learning, we introduced free tuition for students up to the tertiary level at the T.A. Marshall College and the New Life organization. This historic initiative saved our hard-working parents and guardians in excess of $1 million and saw a record enrollment of students in these institutions. An amount of $1.5 million is allocated for the continuation of free tuition program in 2025. Added to this, Mr. Speaker, our government is pleased to introduce a new bus transportation pilot aimed at providing a safe and reliable transportation system for the future men and women of our country. The 6-month pilot, costing $0.8 million, will be offered free to students, but thereafter will be a cost-sharing formula when this initiative is implemented island-wide. Furthermore, government will continue to pursue scholarships opportunities for thousands of Grenadians, locally, regionally, and internationally. Our inaugural first-generation scholarship program is in collaboration with Monroe University, which targets a university graduate in every home. Is clear testimony of our commitment in this regard. Free hot meal programs. Mr. Speaker, we are committed to ensuring that no child goes hungry at our primary and secondary school. To this end, we implemented a free hot meal program that provides free nutritious meals to all students. This investment in our children's health will continue to improve concentration, reduce absenteeism, and support families facing financial strain. An amount of $5 million is allocated for the continuation of the free hot meal programs in 2025. Transforming infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, we are cognizant of the fact that some of our teachers and students are operating in less than suitable conditions. Hurricane Beryl exacerbated a school infrastructure system that was largely in a state of disrepair. We empathize with them and continue to thank them for their patience and understanding as we work to address the problems that are left unattended for many, many years. We are committed to building and maintaining modern and safe learning environments to support quality learning. In 2025, we are making an unprecedented investment in school infrastructure with plans to begin construction of several new schools, rehabilitate existing facilities, and retrofit math and science lab across the country. This includes the St. David's Catholic Secondary School. No objection to award contract already issued by the Procurement Board. Construction expected to commence in May of 2025. The St. Andrew's Anglican Primary School, the contract has been signed with construction to commence in May of 2025. The St. Giles Government School, 95% of the final design completed. Construction is expected to commence in July of 2025. The Florida Government School, civil works is expected to commence in June of 2025. The Grenada Christian Academy, under construction with 20% completed. Dover Government School, construction scheduled to commence in June of 2025. St. George's Anglican Senior, refurbishment scheduled to commence in June of 2025. Bonaire Government School retrofitting of Maths and Science Lab expected to commence in April of 2025. The St. Patrick Anglican Primary School retrofitting of Maths and Science Lab expected to commence in April of 2025. Equipping students with relevant skills. The demands of the modern workforce are changing rapidly, and our education system must evolve accordingly. In 2025, we'll focus on equipping students with practical and relevant skills, ensuring they are prepared for emerging industries. This includes expanding digital skills, training in schools to foster competence in areas such as coding, cybersecurity, and artificial intelligence. Strengthening technical and vocational education training, TVET, programs to produce a skilled workforce in areas such as construction, renewable energy, hospitality, and other high-demand sectors. Establishment of TVET centers of excellence, integrating entrepreneurship education to cultivate innovation and self-reliance among our young people. Mr. Speaker, these strategic interventions in education and skills development will empower our people, drive economic growth, and lay the foundation for a more competitive and resilient Grenada. Through bold investment and decisive action, we are securing the future of our nation, one student at a time. An amount of $183.4 million has been allocated for the education sector. Housing. Mr. Speaker, Grenada's significant housing deficit was further exacerbated by the devastation impacted of Hurricane Beryl. The post-disaster assessments indicated that roughly 2,304 houses were damaged, with 36% being severely damaged or totally destroyed. The destruction caused by the hurricane has underscored the need for a comprehensive housing strategy, one that not only rebuilds what was lost, but to strengthen our housing sector for the future. Our strategy has three main pillars. Our emergency housing recovery plan under the ambit of the Build Back Better project, which targets interventions in the critical areas. This includes reconstructing homes that were completely destroyed, with priority given to most vulnerable citizens. To date, 147 new houses are at various stages of completion. Conducting repairs and providing materials assistance to homeowners to help them rebuild their homes. Some 1,866 families have benefited from this material distribution assistance program or had repairs conducted to their homes. Offering concessions and other forms of financial support to families working to rebuild their homes. Some 318 families have received assistance totaling $7.5 million under the tax concession program to date. In 2025, allocation is made for the continuation of the Build Back Better project through Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. In addition to our emergency housing recovery plan, our government is taking proactive steps to reduce the housing deficit through our major flagship initiative, Project 500. This aims to construct 500 Grenada-style on both government and private lands, creating sustainable housing solution for our people. The initiative is well on the way with a pilot project in Dunfermline, where 17 motorhomes are currently under construction. An amount of $10 million has been allocated in the 2025 budget for this continuation of this project. Finally, Mr. Speaker, under the third pillar, government home improvement and soft loan programs. The government will continue to provide material assistance and soft loans to facilitate additional support measures, providing more Grenadians with access to affordable housing solutions. An amount of $15 million has been allocated in the 2025 budget for the continuation of these programs. Through these combined efforts, we remain committed to ensuring safe, resilient, and accessible housing for all Grenadians, reinforcing our nation's ability to withstand future emergency challenges. Renewable energy transition. In 2025, we will redouble our efforts geared towards supporting the diversification of our energy mix in the electricity sector and greening the transportation sector, with the goal of achieving energy security, lowering the cost of energy, and reducing our carbon footprint. Supporting electricity transitioning. Mr. Speaker, the government of Grenada is actively pursuing all viable opportunities to transition our energy sector through the development of solar photovoltaic system, geothermal energy, and wind power. This commitment aligns with our national energy policy and our broader goal of achieving energy security, reducing dependence on fossil fuels and building resilience in the face of climate change. At the forefront of this transition are three major renewable energy projects that will significantly enhance our energy infrastructure and sustainability. First, we are advancing our 15 megawatts geothermal project. This initiative has potential to provide a stable and reliable source of clean energy, reducing our reliance on imported fossil fuel and strengthening the resilience of our electricity grid. Phase 2 will cover exploratory drilling that's currently underway, and we will remain committed to unlocking Grenada's geothermal potential. Mr. Speaker, I wish to place on record my sincere thanks to the United Kingdom government for the generous donation of US $10 million towards the project. An amount of $3.6 million is allocated for this project in 2025. Second, the government is facilitating the establishment of a solar PV system at the Maurice Bishop International Airport as a utility-scale independent power producer project. This initiative will contribute to the country's renewable energy mix and demonstrate the viability of large-scale solar investment. To support this and future IPP project, the government is making critical investment in the necessary infrastructure, ensuring a conducive environment for private sector participation in renewable energy generation. Grenada plans to contribute US $10 million towards the Caribbean Renewable Energy Infrastructure Investment Facility, a fund spearheaded by the ECCB to finance private sector projects in this area. Third, we are embarking on a transformative project to install solar PV system on government buildings. This initiative is not only to reduce public sector electricity costs, but also to serve as a model for sustainable energy use. Importantly, the project includes critical upgrades to the national transmission and distribution network, along with battery storage solution to enhance grid stability and accommodate increased renewable energy generation. Mr. Speaker, this project is funded through the grant and concessional loans from the World Bank, the Caribbean Development Bank, and the Clean Energy Technology Fund, and will be executed jointly with Grenada. An amount of 1.6 million is allocated for the rollout of this project in 2025. Mr. Speaker, these projects underscore our government's commitment to clean energy future. By expanding renewable energy generation, modernizing our infrastructure, and fostering private sector participation, we are laying the foundation for a more sustainable and energy secure Grenada. Greening the transport sector. Mr. Speaker, to accelerate the transition to a greener transport sector, the government will build on existing measures such as the removal of duties and taxes on renewable energy vehicles. Furthermore, the government will lead by example by transitioning its vehicle fleet to electric and hybrid models. As a decisive step, we are setting aside 25% target for all new government vehicles purchased in 2025 to be either electric or hybrid, reinforcing our commitment to sustainability, expanding and diversifying our economic base. Mr. Speaker, a robust economy delivering sustainable jobs is the bedrock of our thriving society. Through solid economic management, innovative policies, and sustained investment in both existing and emerging sectors, we are committed to transforming our economy, ensuring that our people not only adapt to the changes of tomorrow, but thrive in an ever-evolving global landscape. Our strategy places strong emphasis on private sector-led growth, complemented by proactive government policies that create an enabling environment for businesses and entrepreneurs to succeed. This collaborative framework will drive the development across key sectors, strengthening resilience and unlocking new opportunities in sectors such as agriculture, tourism, the digital and blue economy, agricultural food security and nutrition security. Mr. Speaker, agriculture remains a cornerstone for our economy, and our vision to modernize and expand the sector for greater productivity, sustainability, and food security. Our vision for this sector was dealt a major blow in July of last year. The impact resulted in untold hardship for our farmers and fisher folks. Most of their lives and livelihoods upended yet another natural disaster. In the wake of this disaster, the government acted swiftly to provide much-needed relief. Through the emergency response plan, we invested roughly $32 million in income support, farm labor support, and farm input assistance, helping farmers, fisher folks regain stability and begin the recovery process. But our work does not stop there. In 2025, we are deepening our commitment to revitalizing agriculture through strategic interventions that will build resilience, enhance productivity, and drive long-term growth. An allocation of $32.4 million has been made in the 2025 estimates to fund various projects in agriculture. The Minister for Agriculture will highlight some of these key initiatives in his presentation. Tourism, creative economy, and culture. Mr. Speaker, tourism is one of the main pillars of Grenada's economy, providing thousands of jobs and contributing significantly to GDP. Thankfully, the sector was largely untouched during the passage of Hurricane Beryl and was primarily responsible for the robust economic performance in 2024. Notwithstanding the strong rebound of the sector in the post-COVID-19 period and its significant contribution to employment and GDP, much more needs to be done to harness the full potential of the sector. Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to realization of the full potential of the sector through targeted interventions. To this end, it is imperative that we fully integrate and leverage the potential of the creative economy and cultural industries. Both of